All right. So I am watching a terrible Washington Bears games. It's everything people would wish for here in the first. We might be in the second quarter by now. Well, haven't really been watching, been more preparing for the video, but we'll get started here. So week 5, I thought I was doing pretty well. It was hitting the afternoon games pretty good. But then the Eagles ended up letting me down against the Cardinals. Ended up finishing out the week 4 and 5, so lost little ground there, and brought my total for the season to 17 and 26. So let's hope we can make up some ground this week. So last week, Eagles let me down against the Cardinals. They're a hot team, but only won by 3 points there. Didn't cover the spread. Chiefs, Raiders. Chiefs really didn't show up in the first part of the game. Got down early. Makes it pretty hard to cover 7 when you do that. Lions. I don't think I bet that much on this game, but for how good that offense was looking for the Lions, they put up 0 points against the Patriots. Are the Patriots getting it figured out? Is that the best defense in the league all of a sudden? I don't know what's happening there. Then got paid by San Francisco. They might be figuring things out. The Titans beat up on Washington. That's a game that they should have won. They got the job done. And then the Cowboys. I took the Cowboys versus the Rams. With a reasonable amount of confidence, and got paid by it. But still went 4 and 5. So let's keep it rolling. Week 6. First game I got 49ers at Atlanta. So this is a little bit of a dangerous pick because Atlanta's 5-0 against the spread. But the 49ers, I think, are doing okay against the spread. I'm going to take the 49ers minus 5.5. Right now, they're really starting to warm up. Their defense might be one of the best in the NFL. They're playing really well right now. They got that power run game going. Jimmy G is another week being that starter, getting accustomed to the offense. And Atlanta's pretty banged up still. I mean, Cordell Patterson went to IR, so at running back, they got a couple, rookies, practice squad guys. And then Pitts might be back this game, but, he's a little banged up. You still got Mariota at quarterback. I like 49ers to go out there and manhandle them. Starting to gain a little trust. Might be a little premature. But the 49ers should be a good team in the NFL, and the Atlanta is a bottom half team for sure. So give me the 49ers in the 5.5. Patriots at Browns. You can't trust. Can you trust either of these teams right now? The Browns play good defense, and they got a good running game. But with what the Patriots have done the last 2 weeks, shutting out the Lions, and then they almost beat the Patriots the week before, and they got Bailey Zapp starting. So I don't know what's going on. I can't trust them. I don't know how you can predict them right now. So not going to touch them. Next game, I got Jets at Packers. Okay, so Packers are coming off 2 pretty bad weeks. They just lost in London to the Giants, who, we might have to start respecting soon, but they're still not, they're a middle-of-the-road team, even if they are improved. They're not one of the best teams in football by any means. And the week prior, they almost lost to the Patriots, who maybe they're figuring things out, but I don't think so. They had injuries at quarterback in that game, and there was all kinds of things going wrong, and the Packers just really aren't that good right now. Their defense was very overrated coming into the season. Their offense really hasn't been doing much. I expected them to get the running game going, be a run-first team, just basically rely on Rodgers in those third down situations, but otherwise just churn the ball, and they haven't done that. I don't know. Should the Packers have hired me instead of Matt LaFleur? Probably, but they didn't, and that's their mistake. So the Jets, on the other hand, they're 3-2 right now, and some injuries have kind of gone their way, and they had a miraculous come-from-behind victory against the Steelers, but they won those games. They're playing decent football right now. They just put up 40 against Miami last week. Zach Wilson, we'll see. He's got 2 games under his belt here. Maybe he's going to start to progress and develop. But ultimately, their defense is playing all right. Their offense is playing all right. The Packers are not playing well, and now you're going to hand the Packers 7.5 points. I mean, it is in Green Bay. There's a potential the Packers come back from that London game with a vengeance, but I don't think so. I mean, they really haven't been scoring that many points. So if the Jets need just to stay within 7.5, I think they can do it. I think they're not a particularly good team, but I mean, in the Packers' wins, other than the game against Chicago, they've been within 3 points. To Tampa Bay and the Patriots. And so the only team they beat by more than 3 points was Chicago. And the Jets, they're better than Chicago. We're seeing that here right on Thursday Night Football. So I'm going to take the Jets with that big spread. I don't think the Packers deserve 7.5 point cushion. They haven't really shown that this season. Next game I got Colts versus Jaguars. So at first I wasn't going to touch this game. You really can't trust either of these teams. They've been up and down. The Colts especially have just really been disappointing. But I started thinking about it. I mean, this Colts defense is still pretty good. They held their opponent to 6 points last week. Jaguars held their opponent, I think, to 13 points last week. The Colts scored 12 points last week. The Jaguars scored 6 points last week. That's only 18 points. The over-under for this game is 42 points, which is not high. But I'm going to take the under 42. I mean, I think the Colts should go out and win this game, but I've been saying that all season. So I don't know what's going to happen. In Indy, division game, both these teams kind of had a bad week last week. I am not going to touch the spread. I think it's Colts -2. I'm not going to touch the spread. I'm going to take the under 42 and kind of expect at least one of these teams to play pretty poorly and Colts defense to kind of limit things and some turnovers and some ineptitude on offense to help me out, settling for too many field goals, and we'll see if we can stay under that 42. I just got to hope that neither of them throws a pick six, because if there's a defensive touchdown in the game, quick touchdown like that, that'll really screw up an under. But I'm going to take the under. Vikings at Miami. So how quickly should I forget? I swore off the Vikings, 2 weeks ago. They are 1-4 against the spread. I'm going to completely ignore, and then there's the backup curse, which I mentioned last time, and I think I was correct. The Vikings just really don't play well against backup quarterbacks, and Miami's going to trot out their third-string quarterback. So not an ideal game script for the Vikings, but Miami just got blown out by the Jets, 20-plus points. They're on the third-string quarterback. They're really struggling right now. The Vikings should, I say this every week, the Vikings should go out and play well. And it's Vikings -3. If that changes at all by the time I can place my bet and it's any more than 3, there's no way if it's 3.5, not touching it. But if I can get this at 3 or under, I'll take the Vikings. They should go out and they should beat up on Miami, even though it's tough to play in Miami for whatever reason. I think the Vikings, Kirk Cousins, JJ, Dalvin Cook in Florida, they should go out and beat those 3 points. Not going to put the mortgage on it, but I am going to go against my better judgment and bet on the Vikings. And we'll see. Next game I got Bengals at Saints. The Saints are a pretty bad football team. I don't know why do people like to bet on them. I'm not really sure what's going on there, but the Bengals are -2 point favorites here. The Bengals have put 2 good weeks together. It might have been 3, actually. They had 2 wins leading into that Baltimore Ravens game, and they were in a position to win that game too. It was a tough division game, close game. I give moral victories. When I look at a team's schedule, I don't just look at wins and losses. I look, who'd they play? All their wins are against bad teams. All their losses, are against good teams. Well, maybe they're not that good. But if you have a team that is losing close games against good teams, that means something. So I give the Bengals some credit for playing decent in that game. I don't know who's starting for the Saints. Jameis Winston, Andy Dalton. Could be an Andy Dalton revenge game. Who knows? But either way, I like the Bengals, and I'll cede those 2 points going into the Superdome. I think the Bengals should be starting to roll here, and I just think the Saints just aren't that good. So We'll go with the Bengals -2. Next game I got Baltimore at Giants. Okay, Baltimore got off to a hot start of the season, but then they've pretty much limped since then. They blew that game against the Dolphins. They blew another game the following week. Can't remember who that was against. And then, God, they blew two 18-point leads in a row. I can't remember who they blew the second lead to. I'm sure I'll see it after the game, but after I finish the video. But now they're playing the Giants in New York. So it's in New York. Giants are 4-1. Saints are 3-2. Yeah, the Giants might not be as good as that record, but they're playing decent football right now. They just beat the Packers last week, who aren't as good as people thought, but they're still a middle of the road, above average team, probably top half team. And they're getting no respect. The Baltimore is favored -5.5. Other than those early games, Baltimore has not been beating people by, over 5.5 points. The Ravens have really slowed down, and the Giants are still playing well. There's a chance the Ravens go nuts, and they're back to the old, run the ball down the throat of these inferior teams and run with Lamar Jackson. If you never have to throw in a contested game and just can take a couple deep shots to Duvernay and run up the score, then maybe they'll be okay. There's a chance that happens. There's always a chance with the Ravens. But I think they've slowed down. I think the Giants' defense has held everyone they've played to 23 points or less. I think they can kind of slow down the struggling Baltimore team a little bit and cover the 5.5 points. So I'm going to take the Giants in the 5.5. They're 4-1 against the spread. We'll see what happens. Tampa Bay at Steelers. So Tampa Bay has been pretty shaky this season. They've had a lot of injuries. We all know the center of their offensive line got gutted before the season even started. Godwin's been hurt. Evans missed a game. Now he's back. They don't have a tight end. But last week there were some good things. Fournette got going a little bit. So the run game might be turning a corner. The Steelers, this is really more about the Steelers. So the first part of what I was saying is just can we trust Tampa Bay? Second part is we need to doubt the Steelers until they prove us otherwise. They got blown out by, it was against the Bills, but they got blown out by 35 points last week against the Bills. And the Bills have that suffocating defensive line. Well, the Tampa Bay also has a suffocating defensive line. So if Buffalo could hold them to 3 points, then I think Tampa Bay can hold them to not a very productive day as well. So then you just need Tampa Bay to put up 25 points or so, and they got to cover 8. It seems doable just based on what the Steelers are doing right now. Even with Tampa Bay not playing the best football, I'll take Tampa Bay -8. That's a lot of points, but I'm taking a lot of the plus. I'm taking a lot of the underdogs in this one. This is one of the ones where I'm going to take the overdog. Panthers versus Rams. So I think this is at the Rams. Right now, the Rams are -10-point favorites when I was just looking. I don't know if that spread's changed or if it'll change by the time I get to a state where I can place a bet. But does anyone trust the Rams plus 10 points? Have you watched a single Rams game? I don't care who they're playing. How can you trust the Rams and 10 points? They're 1-4 against the spread this season. You can't trust them at all. Pretty much every week Matt Stafford has looked nothing like the way he looked, in their Super Bowl run. They can't protect him. Cooper Kupp's their only weapon. Akers and Henderson are struggling. I don't know how you can really trust the Rams, even against the Panthers. And the Panthers, so here's the angle I'm really playing. A couple years ago, there was a narrative that the game after you fired the coach, the interim coach would win. It happened the Texans fired Bill O'Brien, and they went out and won the game after. I think it happened with Atlanta, too. There was 3 or 4 of them, where the week after, there was that honeymoon week, where the weight was lifted off, and then they went out and they won the game with the interim coach. I'm kind of playing that angle, and I think Carolina, after shaking off the Matt Rule era, are going to go out and and have at least one good motivated week. New energy in the building with the shakeup. I think they're going to be probably pretty dog shit the rest of the season, but I think they're going to come out and they may not win the game, but if they got a 10-point cushion, I like them to cover against the Rams. I took the Cowboys. The Cowboys beat them outright last week with a backup quarterback. So next game, Cardinals at Seahawks. Geno Smith and the Seahawks, man, they're playing pretty well this season. They're at home. They're playing pretty well. The Cardinals are pretty mid-tier. So I'll take Seattle at home plus 2.5 points. I would like to get a little more points there. Kyler Murray can hurt you. The Seahawks defense is pretty bad, but with the way Geno Smith is playing football right now, and the way Seattle is really playing football, I know Rashad Penny broke his leg, but Kendall Walker had a big run last week. I think they can turn to him, and I'm not too afraid of the Cardinals defense. So I think the Seahawks can keep it rolling. They have just as good a chance to win that game. They're at home in Seattle, which is a decent home field advantage. So I'll take them plus the 2.5 points. Bills, Kansas City. So this is an afternoon game. For some reason, that's not a primetime game. I like the Bills minus 2.5, but I don't think I'm going to touch it. I think this is going to be a fun game no matter what happens. I really do think the Bills' defensive line is going to really maul Kansas City. I mean, there's unfinished business from the playoffs last year in overtime. I don't know. Kansas City seems to show up and play out of their minds sometimes for games like this, but they're also slow starters and don't play all that well in the first half sometimes. So I don't know. I'm not going to touch it because I think it's going to be a fun game regardless. But if I had to take the bet, I would take Bills minus 2.5. Sunday Night Football, Cowboys Eagles. So the Eagles really let me down last week. I think they're a good team. I think they had a good defense. I think their offense has got a lot of weapons, and Jalen Hurts is able to use them and run the ball. They can run the ball effectively. They're one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. I think on paper, the Eagles definitely should be favorites, but it's 6.5 points. I don't know if I trust the Eagles at 6.5 points after they just failed to cover against the Cardinals. A lot of these picks I might be living in the past, might be factoring in too much of what happened this immediate week prior, but I can't trust the Eagles in 6.5 points. Not in a division game, not with the way the Cowboys have been playing with Cooper Rush. So I'm not going to touch that one. I'm just going to watch Sunday Night Football. Monday Night Football is kind of a similar story. So it's Denver versus the Chargers. I looked at one source that tried to say the Chargers are 4-1 against the spread. I'm like, no way. Every time I bet on the Chargers, they absolutely fail to deliver. So maybe that's just a me thing. But right now the Chargers are favored minus 4.5. This is just like the Vikings. The Chargers should go out and beat the crap out of this crappy Broncos team. And Russell Wilson can blame his shoulder all he wants, but he's looking really washed right now. That head coach that they hired is way over his head. I don't know why you would hire the quarterback's coach of a Hall of Fame quarterback ever as a head coach. I don't understand that. But the Chargers are minus 4.5. I just can't trust them. They burn me every time. I would take them if I had to, just because Denver is not playing very good football right now. But Chargers defense has not been playing as well as advertised. Denver's defense is pretty good. Who knows? This might be just a ugly slugfest of two AFC West teams just slugging it out. But not going to touch it. So sorry I ended a little weak there. Picks I feel the best about, I don't know, probably Colts, Jags under the 42. Although I'm not very good at over-unders. I like that Jets plus 7.5, that Panthers plus 10, the Giants plus 5.5. Maybe like that a little less. I mean, we'll see what happens. Nothing I feel so crazy about. I'd say get the hammer out, but that's what I'm thinking. Let me know what you think, and that's all I got. Good luck.